as I was saying, well, that was a different topic, but basically something that just came to mind is like, I put something between the box. Is that noise? Anyways, so I think that, like, I was just thinking about the decisions that I made, and like, I keep thinking about decisions I try to make with my future in mind, or just for whatever reason, and how analytical and critical I am of those decisions on whether or not they are aligned with my goals, and like kind of almost like an over-analyzation, anyways, an over-analyzation, and the feeling that, like, if I make the wrong decision, almost like a paralysis analysis, and I wonder where that comes from as far as being like, I always talk about being intentional with my decisions, but like, it seems like I've never done that before. And then if I look from a different perspective, it's like, well, I have done that. I just wasn't so super fond about the outcome, or I was over analytical about the result. Which is like when I bought the pink car, and when I made that decision, I was very intentional about it. I was very wise with how I negotiated. I was wise with, you know, the value and the kilometers, and just making sure that the equation worked, basically making sure the equation worked. So that was very logical, and that was very intentional. And then after a few months, basically, I just kind of, like, something else in my environment triggered me and happened, and then it lowered my state, and in that lowered state of emotion, I decided that that was a bad decision, and that I needed to get rid of that car loan immediately. And so I defaulted on, or like I voluntarily had the vehicle repossessed, and now that's on my credit. It's like my credit as well, like if you just look at my credit history, it's like I bought a new car. Actually, the first vehicle I ever financed, I could have paid for in cash, but the moral of that story is that, like, instead of keeping the vehicle, I decided I would sell the vehicle. This guy's going super fucking slow. So, anyways, I decided I would sell the vehicle at a pretty big loss, instead of keeping it, because it was emotional, because my brain was like, well, if you don't sell it now, like, blah 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 blah, and it's like, well, no, it was like a great vehicle, very reliable, had a good reputation, with extremely low kilometers, but I don't know, my brain just, like, it's like, instead of when I make a decision, it just being like logic, like, well, this or this, this or this, it's like, if I don't make this decision if I don't act on this immediately, impending doom will come upon me, right, for this decision. And where that comes from is childhood trauma. Like, it's a reaction to I'm not reacting to that circumstance, I'm reacting to the past. I'm reacting to something, I'm playing out a scenario in my past, and living in the present moment as if it were then, trying to get a different result. And I don't know exactly where it comes from, but somewhere along the lines of being, like, I was always very fearful as a child, and just felt like I had to shield myself and protect myself, because it was just so fucking scary that, like, at any minute, I guess my dad could, like, snap, and that unpredictability made it so that, I don't know, I haven't pieced together the whole puzzle of that yet, but I do know how it shows up in my day-to-day and in the results of my life. And it's very clear if you look at my videos as well, like, hey, I'm fucking here, and then, oh, I quit my job, and it's like, the amount of times I quit my job, I started the job, pretty excited. I wouldn't say that they were all, you know, they were super intentional or like aligned with where I wanted to be, but regardless, it's not really that important, because your environment is always going to be whatever your environment is going to be. You're never going to have full control over it. It's just, there's Earth and Mother Nature and, you know, like the weather and things like that that are out of your control in, you know, such a big way. And people, especially, where you can't control people, you can have a pretty big influence over, you know, your relationships with them and whatnot. But I don't know, it's just like, when I think about the most influential people of all time, and like the people that I would look up to, as far as people that really had, like, not like influencers or these gurus and stuff like that, which is like, most of those, in my opinion, are really not doing it right, because they're living, like, their work is a coping mechanism, is their coping mechanism for their trauma. And it's different if you're aware of that and you're like, but if, I don't know, how do I explain this? Like, I guess people that are overcompensating versus really having something, I don't really even know how to explain that, to be honest. But anyways, Nelson Mandela, in prison for something he didn't do, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know the full story of it, but and then in prison for decades, and he just had to decide what do you, it's out of your control to a certain extent. Yeah, you can go to court and like do the things and all that, but like, you're still in prison. The reality of the situation, the reality of my situation, the reality of your situation is you are here. And if you think in the way of nothing that I can really do here is going to change my situation, except how I choose to enact, you know, my behavior, how I choose to enact a personality, how I choose to show up in this environment despite the conditions. This environment is really shit. Okay, like, personally, I'm in my hometown, and I did all this with intention when I first started. I was like, well, you know, like, that seems like it could be actually, like, kind of beneficial. I didn't really know why, but like, the gut feeling was like, this feels like it could be beneficial. I don't know how, and it's proving itself now that, like, I'm in a situation that's very triggering around family, living with my grandparents, and, you know, like, it's a pretty hostile environment. For them, it might not seem that way, but for me, it's, I don't know, it could be very reactional. And I've gotten better, like, not letting those things affect me, but that's the point of it, right? So, it's not them. They're not the problem. The environment is not the problem. I'm the problem. I'm the only one that can do anything about this situation. I can't tell them, you need to respect my boundaries. Because if you don't, like, when you say that, what are you really doing? You're giving the control to the other person. And if they do what you want, that's great, but they might not always do what you want. And also, it's kind of, in a way, like I said, being a victim and playing the blame game, where you can blame them, and you might be correct. It's not like that's not true, but you're giving your power away, and your ability to do anything in the situation to positively affect yourself, you're putting that in somebody else's hands. So, and I've been doing this, like, something will happen, I'll get emotionally triggered, and maybe, like, a lot of the times I don't even know what it is until afterwards. Sometimes, like, right now, I haven't even really been aware of, and, because, in all honesty, if every time somebody triggers you, you react by telling them, hey, this is what you need to do differently. Like, I don't know if I would want to be around somebody that always consistently was saying that I wasn't good enough, and, like, you know, everyone's trying to do their best, and there is a place of saying, like, hey, the way that you do this does really affect me. That's great, and if they respect you, then they'll, but if they don't, I would much rather be in control of my emotions by controlling my emotions and not letting external influences and external things have potential control over my emotions, over my state of being. And when I think about what a good life looks like, what being happy means, I don't want to have to be the person that just because life doesn't go the way that I expected, you know, I'm miserable and I show up in my relationships as an asshole, which I typically have been doing. As soon as I'm in a good state, I love everybody, I'm very affectionate, I show my appreciation, and then the minute that something happens and I just feel a little bit, you know, down and whatever, I just treat people like shit. And they might not even see it that way, but like I get a little bit of attitude in my voice, I get a little bit like spicy. And if you're, you know, if you yourself are being that way, you like look at yourself in the mirror, like what is it it's not the other people. I mean, it is the other people, but are you gonna live your life in that way? Are you gonna live your life in the way of, it's their fault, I can't do anything about it, I'm a victim, and I don't know, like, that comes in and out of my life. I think it's like, it's not, you know, this side or this side, it's like somewhere in the middle of a balance of like, you do need to be, you know, people need to be responsible and held responsible, but with empathy and with sympathy of like, I understand where you are right now, and I want to be here to help you, but it's hard for me to be here and help you when you treat me in this way, right? Or something along those lines, right? But it's also like, what can I do in this situation? What is my role in this? How am I contributing to this, right? If somebody's in a bad state and then I trigger them and then they react to me, well, that's kind of my fault, isn't it, right? Like, they're just reacting because of the way that I reacted to them. And it takes a lot to be responsible in that way and be like, yeah, no, I actually, you know, I'm playing a major role in this situation. So anyways, that's a little bit of, you know, whatever, a little bit of stuff to think on about like happiness, responsibility, and yeah, just, I don't know. I know that the times in my life when I have the most certainty, the most happiness, and life is just the freest, flowing the freest, is undoubtedly when I'm looking in the mirror. There is no finger pointing. There's just no place for it. It's not a productive state. And so, like, I don't know, this is me speaking from experience on the thing that undoubtedly works for me every time that I actually use it, and when I'm not using it, undoubtedly I am playing the victim and I am blaming other people for my problems. Not that, like I said, not that the world isn't fucked, not that everything, really if you were to think about it in that way, everything is fucked up, everything is broken, all of our systems are broken, you know, a lot of environments are toxic, a lot of, even in my work environment, there's just a kind of like a dysfunction and like an unalignment with my values and how I think I would run a business. But this is reality. Like this is the situation that I'm in, and I've tried in this situation to, you know, over control it. And the biggest thing is that it's actually not effective at changing the situation, right? Time will effectively change the situation. If you let things be, it's like inevitable that growth will happen. But I don't know, even when I say this out loud, I kind of have this resistance, like, well, but like, it should be better. Like, I really think that I could do more to influence this work environment. Yeah, I can. I can influence this work environment by showing up in my best self. If I come to the table, putting my best foot forward, being energized and happy and communicating just in a nice and you know, happy way, and being respectful and being like, not being narcissistic, like not being like, what do you call it, passive aggressive, right? Like, just, it's like, throw that fucking shit out of your vocabulary, you know, like that tonality and the vocabulary that goes with that. If you eliminate that, it's almost, it's just like if you're building muscle and you're drinking, you know, you're drinking energy drinks. If you get rid of the energy drinks and you continue, you know, working out and growing the muscle, your progress is going to be through the roof. Your physiology is going to be so, you know, deeply improved because of that. And it's the same thing with mental work, right? With mentally working out. If there's just these little fucking toxic things that are your the things that you're in control of, not other people, that if you just eliminate a few of those, the progress is immense, right? Like, if you're not sleeping well and then you start sleeping well, the difference is huge. If you're blaming people and then you just, you know, you start showing up just a little bit happier at work, and you just start, you know, like having conversations at the gas station with just a little bit like, hey, how you doing? You know, like, actually, like, not, and you're not gonna say it in that way, like, how are you at? Yeah, how you actually doing? But like, versus you go in the gas station, you buy your stuff, you walk out. If they say hi, you say hi. Like, asking people how they're doing, you know, like, I don't know, it's small things that can have an influence as far as, you know, making you feel, you can be like, oh, all these people at the gas stations, they're just all fucking bastards, and I don't know, they don't actually care about you. It's like, it doesn't matter if they actually care about you. It's about the act of doing the right thing. The right thing is to ask people how they're doing, and to be kind, and to be charismatic. That's just, that feels like the right thing to do. That feels fulfilling. It feels good for you. And I don't know. I would much rather try to enact a certain set of beliefs and values that are, you know, inherently positive than be inherently negative, because in that negative state it doesn't feel like anything productive happens, even if you, I don't know, like, anyways, topic up for debate, I guess. Maybe some of this stuff you agree with, maybe some of you don't. This is what goes through my head on a daily basis. Usually it's more negative than this, but I've been in a, I guess just today I'm in a right, literally it's hour by hour actually. Like, this morning I was not doing good, and then I don't know, I have very high highs and low lows, definitely lower lows. But if there's anything in this that you relate with, anything that you're also contending with, let me know. If anyone wants to talk on this topic more in depth, if you have my contact information, give me a call. Yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you later.